Well, being told that your child is afflicted with a rare and largely unknown disorder would be tough on anyone. But for one family, learning others were facing that same uncertainty with the diagnosis sparked a new level of action. So Monica Elnikava created the nonprofit foundation Cure Gaba-A not only to raise awareness, but to drive research and solutions. She is here with me now. So Monica, I'm so glad you could join me today coming from California to share this with us. So thank you for being here.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me and for giving me the opportunity to share about our foundation, Cure Gaba-A.
And let's start with kind of a basic, because a lot of people don't know what Gaba-A even is. So bring us kind of some background on this.
Well, researchers discovered that mutations in Gaba-A are associated with autism, developmental disabilities, ADHD, schizophrenia, alcohol dependency. And so if you have one of the mutations in Gaba-A, you could very well be affected. And my daughter has multiple mutations. And so our family started a foundation called Cure Gaba-A.
Yeah. It's incredible to learn about that. So then talk about the fact of kind of how it is diagnosed. I feel like that is very interesting because you have all of these symptoms, as you mentioned, right? And a lot of people may write those off. So how do you find out that your child is afflicted with this?
Well, you would go get a diagnosis through a whole exome sequence, and then you would have a genetic report that would tell you if you have a Gaba-A mutation. But the purpose of our foundation is to bring together parents and researchers from across the globe.
Okay.
And we want to bring them together to share about research and treatments for these children.
And so, yes, you created this foundation. What are the goals then you hope to accomplish through this?
We're hoping to find transitional treatments for these children. You know, we all know someone who has autism or they suffer from addiction or epilepsy. And imagine finding a cure or a treatment for one of these.
It's incredible to think about that. And so I want to go to your daughter, the crux of this and really what led your passion. So tell me about Elanor.
You know, Elanor was developing like any other baby. And around 18 months, she just wasn't walking. And so I approached her pediatrician and he told me that she was fine and he brushed me off like a overprotective parent. And I came home feeling really upset and frustrated and angry. So I went online and I searched for absolutely anything and anything that could give me an indication as to what was going on with her and why she was different. And I came across information from a lab called Caddy Kang's lab at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. And I approached her and we started funding research in her lab. And we also partnered with a woman called Amber Freed. She's a force in rare disease advocacy. And we realized that pharmaceutical companies just don't have the financial incentive to create treatments for this rare disease because the prevalence of these patients is so low.
And so how is Elanor today? Because as you mentioned, there is no cure. Are they able to treat her symptoms? What is her life like?
You know, a good way to explain this is we went on a family trip around the time that Elanor was 2. And it was the day that we were scheduled to go back home. And I was packing up the room and Elanor had a mild fever. And I turned my back for 1 second to get her some baby Tylenol. And my 4-year-old son just said, "Mommy, what's wrong with Elanor?" And I turned to her and her skin was gray and her lips were blue and she was shaking violently and completely unresponsive. And so my husband scooped her up and ran her down the hall and gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
Oh my goodness.
And I was on the phone just screaming to the front desk to get an ambulance. And that was the first time that she had a seizure, and it was a grand mal seizure. And, you know, these children, some of them have hundreds of seizures like that a day.
So scary. So scary. So then that is obviously the impetus of what you want to talk about today, this foundation, supporting it, supporting what you do. And really, if people are out there and their child has any symptom, what is your message for them today? Because we actually, have a colleague here who found out her daughter has that. So I want you to talk to those parents in those very scary moments where they don't know what is wrong with their child.
If there's something different or atypical with your child, I wouldn't hesitate for a moment. With our story, our physician kind of brushed us off. I would push for genetic testing. A wonderful test to have is called a whole exome sequence or even a whole genome sequence. And that will just give you a complete composition of your genetic makeup. And then you can see if you have any mutations such as GABAA.
And that is incredible information to have because knowledge is really the core of all this and finding treatments and pursuing that research. So curegabaa.org, and it's GABA, GABAA.org. You can go there and find out about the incredible things to support the cause and really just to educate yourself on this. So Monica, I'm looking at Elanor, what a bright light she is, and her smile. So here's to, hoping that you can find solutions for children just like her. So
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.